Welcome to the Real Construction Owners Podcast, where we interview real construction owners doing big things to help you go from being a stressed out operator to a thriving business owner. Today, we have a special guest out of Austin, Texas, James Kuntz. His first year in business did over $6 million in revenue. And we're going to be talking about a few key things that helped him do that and helped him become a successful owner instead of a stressed out operator. So stay tuned. What's up, James? How you doing, brother?
Doing great. How are you? How's Costa Rica?
Life's good, man. Just drinking a cappuccino and chilling. It's endless summers here, brother.
I love it.
How's Austin, Texas?
It's good, man. We might get a glimpse of a winter, so it's cooled down a little bit. So yeah, it's been nice. Good holidays for sure.
Man, take us all the way back, James. You know, you've been in business for about a year now. You broke $6 million. That's pretty impressive. Like, how'd you start? How'd you do that much revenue in year one? Like, what happened?
Yeah, I think going all the way back, graduating University of Texas, working in various different fields from logistics to tech. The way we kind of went to market from a business development perspective was very much like that seed approach, like through partnerships. And when I worked for one of the largest residential re-roofing platforms, what I found was everyone was just kind of knocking on doors and weren't building and garnering, true relationships. And so I really focused on some of those aspects, those business development channels, and partnered with insurance agents and property managers and realtors and just did what I said I was going to do. I think you can agree that the bar is pretty low in this industry and a lot of home services space. And so we raised the bar and we delivered upon it. And so all of these relationships that we're garnering now, yeah, we did 6 million, but those numbers will compound over time, right? Because they'll introduce us to other partners and our book of business will grow, within those partners, but also get introduced to other partners. So yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest things as well, Justin, is just not doing everything myself. I think a lot of people look at, as an owner, if I ran all these jobs myself, I wouldn't have to pay a sales commission. But what you do is you trap yourself at that level and you can't get to the next level because you're stuck. Now running a job once a month or something like that, or every couple months, I think can kind of help keep you fresh, right? And, connected into the sales organization. But yeah, I think I've just, found some of the right people, one in particular, our president, who has, really helped us get to that next level and fill some of the gaps where I wasn't as strong, right? But I think it's who, not how, right?
Love that book. Such a good book.
Yeah.
Sounds like you've read it.
Yes, absolutely. Resonated very much.
For sure. Put the right people in place so therefore you don't have to do it all yourself. Because if you try to do it all yourself, you're going to hit a ceiling. It's that $3 to $4 million ceiling when you try to do it yourself. But then when you love the people instead of love the money, and you give them opportunity by giving them salary and give them overrides, that's when the business starts to grow and thrive. What does the org chart look like in your company? Spell it out for us so we can visually conceptualize it.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's myself at the top, right? Then we have Jeffrey, our president, right, who reports directly into me. We consult on a lot of different topics, not just related to the sales organization, but all the departments working cross-departmentally. And then underneath him, we have a team lead that I worked with prior, and then he manages the sales team underneath him. So we are about to add a couple more team leads, right? And we're going to turn on the recruiting engine. We've been keeping it pretty lean as of now. We're cutting the fat, if you will, at this point in time. It's not about what you make, it's what you keep. Year one was all about sales. Year two is about, what we're going to take home, right? And then reinvest back into the business where we have a very clear ROI. So yeah, that's going to be the next year. The year after that, right, we'll add a little bit of gas on the fire in terms of like marketing and actually running ads and, testing out new strategies. But this year we're going to double down on what's been working.
So what's been working?
Yeah, so really it's the relationships. It's kind of like the cheapest customer acquisition cost, but kind of the most, you could say, time intensive, right? So it's going to those events with realtors, it's following up with them, doing lunch and learns, it's partnering with the insurance agents and the property managers. It's actually doing the work, not just throwing money at the problem, right? We tried several different agencies, right? We tried Facebook ads without success. And, maybe you have had success in those areas. We did not have success with local service ads because you kind of have to set up the profiles correctly. And then they kind of operate on their own. We found diminishing returns with Google pay-per-click. So we have a lot of data on what didn't work, what has been working, and it depends on if you're storm chasing or retail. But for storm, obviously the traditional door knocking, was highly effective the first couple of weeks after it, up to the first couple of months. But we have an internal call center. That's probably our lowest customer acquisition cost outside of partnerships. But our conversion, is 1 out of 5 to 1 out of 4, right? Our good reps are converting 1 out of 3. But because we built it in-house through a partnership, we're controlling that, cost per appointment, and therefore that customer acquisition cost for those. We did find some success with Thumbtack, but, we were finding roughly a X ROI on our money, which isn't horrible. We want to get closer to 10, 15X, right? And so we have found that doubling down on these lunch and learns, we have to bring in tacos, right, for an office of 40 people, right? Like that is our cost, right? Plus the time spent. And if we educate them and bring something different to the table and show them how we're different and then deliver and, have a bias towards urgency, we'll convert a couple of those agents every time we do one. And then more and more people, Cindy will tell Bill, right? And Bill will tell Bob. And then, we're working with half of the Coldwell Banker team right here in Austin. So it's can seem like a slower roll, if you will, but, 5 good realtors, right, or 10 good realtors, top performers, can bring you more business than knocking doors all year round. Right? And you're going to have diminishing returns on the door knock. Why not knock doors when it's hot, like in terms of like fresh after a storm, and then work the realtors for the retail and the maintenance and service and the shingle coatings and, all of those different things. But yeah, I think we learned a lot of different lessons this year. We don't have to spend money on brand awareness and all of this stuff that you can't track. Spend money where you can track it back to revenue into the business and margin.
Totally. So it's cool that you have it broken down like that to where what's working, what's not working, and then you plan on doubling down on what's working. Now, curious regarding, you said you have 10 sales guys, and you said you built an internal call center through a partnership. Did you build that yourself? How did you do that?
Yeah, so we had hired a few different companies, more than a few. The cost per, appointment where they charge you $80 on the very low end if you're direct to the, actual call center, and there's not like a middleman in between. And then you could pay upwards of, there's some of those big brands that you're probably aware of. I won't name names for tech, but they'll charge you $300, $350 for a residential appointment. Well, if my conversion's 1 out of 3, right? Let's say they're just $300.
Yeah,
$12. 1 out of 4, that's $1,200, right? So that doesn't make sense for me, right? Because we have, you have to know your net margin, your gross profit, right? All of those things, right? But if, I can get a customer for $500 or less, that makes a lot of sense. So we looked at the numbers, and what we didn't have is a scalable function with these external call centers, even if they did work. What we had is we were susceptible to their outputs and inputs for that day or that week. And are they calling for a different company? Or are they calling for us? Now I know that we have 10 people dedicated calling for us. So we can solve for that. Control what you can control. We either need better data, we need a better script, we need better callers, right? Or we need to target a completely different area, right? We need to stack that data. We need, it's a targeting, potential issue. But if we're getting people on the phone and we're not converting them, it's a scripting issue, or the person's voice is, not great for that area.
Not matching and mirroring or whatever.
It's not matching and mirroring. And, maybe we're just beating dead data and we've got a similar script, and maybe we need to, push more into the soft sell and more of like a repair type script or a maintenance, just something different. Because it's a lot easier to get people to buy a $500 thing than a $50,000 thing, and not everyone needs the $50,000 thing, right? So I think that's been a lot of learning. Is once we really dial this in and get all of our numbers tracking through, and improve the data and improve the coaching and all of those things, sky's the limit. Then we can kind of deploy in other markets and things like that where people are just relying on door knocking. Which is effective for a percentage of the customers out there, but ineffective for the landlords that own, to your point, you own some real estate. You're not going to be at that rental property when someone knocks on your door, right? You might answer the phone, you might open a mailer, right? Maybe they forward it to Costa Rica, but you'll pick up a larger percentage with each different channel that you implement into your business development strategy. And the partnerships, you're competing against maybe one other person or none, right? You're their roofer. You have not let them down the 20 times that realtor has used you. So you're coming in on a leg up, and I'm beating that guy that's knocking on the door, 9 times out of 10.
I love working with realtors and insurance agents. It's one of the best because like they have your ideal client. I heard recently on the podcast, somebody's been working with, what is it called? Home inspectors. That's like a whole nother niche to go after. And you be their roofer who performs, who takes the photos, creates the PDF, so they don't even have to do it. So that's like an avenue that he generated him millions of dollars out of Georgia.
We sponsored a charity event that one of these home inspectors in town. There's a few folks that, were kind of partnering up with him for this event. So I was like, hey, I'd like to get involved. One of the other charity events we got involved with is keeping children out of homelessness, right? And the number of families served, and, it's been highly effective. And so I wanted to get introduced and, put my best foot forward. It was also a write-off at the end of the year, right? And, kind of help some of these families. And then, that was the introduction into this home inspector. And I know that just from him talking on stage, right, in front of these families, like we are very aligned, and this is all about doing business with people that we align with, right? We spend so much time working on and in the business. We want to work with partners that align. I think that is definitely a key area. I mean, I've heard people, partner with Christmas light tree companies, and, obviously there's the solar companies that do the detach and resets. There's, other good seed and referral partners, and it's figuring out, like, what do they care about? Right? What makes them tick? Do they want, a kickback in the form of a referral fee? I find that less and less. I do find that they do want to grow their business, right? Whatever their core business is. And so to the extent you can refer them clients for their core business, I have found to be, the most highly successful. But sometimes that's hard with folks like realtors. It's not a one-to-one a feedback loop.
Sure. So curious, before we move forward, I've spent a ton of money myself on call centers, successful and not successful. Who would you give a shout out to? Like who's the company that built your successful?
Yeah, so Octotasker and Daniel Jones, their team have been the most successful out of any other team that, I've worked with. When you speak with Daniel and Viosa, you just find that their approach is completely different. The script is different. The dialer that they use is now different and proprietary. Everything from connection rates from the tech side to the number of lines that you're dialing to the script and not burning through the data too fast and the quality of the data, like all of those things are important. But when I heard him and how he was talking through the script, it's not, hey, we're going to be in the area doing an inspection for one of your neighbors. That's literally what everyone else does. And there's more and more call centers popping up left and right. The approach is completely different. And when you find someone that really analyzes their area of the business in that depth, right, that they're going to be successful. It's their baby. The last thing I need is another thing to micromanage or, be on top of. And, I need people in those departments and in those areas owning that and asking questions when it's, hey, we need to spend $1,000 or $5,000 to complete this task or complete this project. Great. Yeah. Come to me for that. I'll give you final approval. What's your recommendation? And what are 3 potential successful, paths here, right? So, they've done a great job.
That's one of the questions that I ask. Like, people come to me, they know if they're going to bring a problem, they better bring a couple solutions. And one of the questions that I always ask, what's the value that this could create? What's the risk that could come from this? Yeah. And then what's the domino effect that's going to happen? Like, once we implement this, what are we not thinking about that's going to happen so we can forward it?
Yeah, and in a kind of separate vein, but one of the you mentioned something that we just went out to Florida to meet with Liz Holgan with Business 411. I'm not sure if you've had the opportunity, but it's just been like really refreshing the past couple months. So they reworked their business model. It's not just the pamphlets, right, that you hand to a sales manager or sales rep or to a homeowner, right? It is now a full learning management system, backed SOPs with quizzing capabilities, so that team lead that's bringing in 20 reps into the business doesn't have to repeat themselves 20 different times for the reps to know core values, to understand mission and vision and, all of these things. And also what is drip edge or a rake or an eve, right? Like all of that's kind of getting done now in the background, and we can now test the capabilities. Once they've made it through that, we can do some other things. But bringing that structure in has, just shown us like how much further we can the bar's low right now in this industry. We can set it even higher and even higher. And with, tight processes, and when everyone knows the processes, everything else works smoothly. We've been focused so much on this like lead generation and sales, but now it's like, okay, how do we optimize? And then how do we make sure that we are converting on the sales side? And with these SOPs, right, it's going to solve for that. And like, I've worked with a lot of different consultants, and I'm sure you have as well, more than I have, right? But you have to kiss a lot of frogs, and like, they are definitely, like, in my opinion, like the shining light in this industry of folks that I have worked with on the SOP stuff and like what they're doing with the LMS system, which is a new product. But we did the done with you and kind of done for you as well, kind of master's program, if you will, through Business 411. So it's less susceptible of like, if we don't do the work, right? Like they kind of help you do the work. So it's not such an administrative burden. But we knew that if we were left to our own devices, it would get done in 6 months instead of like the 2-month deadline that we had for ourselves. So yeah, they've been great.
Cool. That's really cool. Now, recruiting 10 sales guys, that's no feat at all. There's companies that, that I've had to not air on this show. They've been in business 5-10 years and they've only got 1 or 2 or 3 sales reps. Curious, what was the secret sauce there? What's that process look like? What are you doing? What's the comp plan? Lay it all out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, full visibility and transparency. Like not everyone's stuck, right? In our heaviest, kind of before we kind of trimmed a little bit of the fat. We had like 20 people on the team, and what we had to do is we kind of had to cut out, some of the part-time people. They had one toe in. Like, just as a business owner, do not invest time in those people that are not all in with you. There's like
I totally agree. They're just dead weight.
It's dead weight, right? Don't look at it as like you'll bring in an extra $200 to $500K a year. Like, look at it as you will waste your time, and they will bring down the culture of the business, and everyone will perform at that level. You're only as strong as your weakest link, right? And so like that's what we have realized. We did a lot of hiring on Indeed, but also through referrals from people that came from previous companies. I worked at a very large organization. A lot of those people had reached out, just explaining potential concerns. And it took me a while to get them over. But they saw kind of the writing on the wall that they were just a number. And what we're doing here is more about personal development and winning long term, and not the big Happy Gilmore checks, right? That's not the culture here, right? We go spend $150,000 a truck that you can't afford, and you have to go and, sell to pay for that depreciating asset. We are very much like, you will grow here, you will grow personally, your health will improve, we will all lift each other up. And I think just selling on those things, there's always someone that's going to come in behind you and offer like a 10-70-30 split.
Right,
and like, if you can't explain your value as an organization, either they aren't the right fit or you aren't doing a good job as a leader and really driving those things home and selling them on that and making sure that they can reiterate that to a sales team. But yeah, I mean, we're finding a lot of success in terms of like the job description that we post to Indeed, which is like the inorganic strategy, kind of pay to play. When you run your ads, my only tip would be, don't run $10 a day. Find out what your premium is for that market. It might be 50, it might be 120, right? Ask your Indeed rep, they have a support channel, and run $120 a day, whatever that threshold is, to be listed as the top 3 people posting a similar job description, so that you get those high quality volume candidates. And then here's the thing, you can hire 2 to 5 people out of 200 resumes, 100 resumes that will stick long term. Maybe not even that many if the job description's funneled appropriately. But I bought the Becca Switzer kind of sales training
Roof Sales Mastery.
Sales Mastery for supplements and for recruiting and onboarding, and we took bits and pieces of that.
Same here.
And created our own, but we were finding success even before we kind of had that, right? It was very much like, hey, you don't have to
Her
just
presentation is fire.
Oh, it's fire.
I gotta give her a shout out. Her presentation is fire. One of the best.
100%. I align very much with how she does things or how she did things, right? And you don't have to hire from the industry. Like, do the work and train these people the right way. It's hard to teach an old dog new tricks, but you can find some good people that come from the industry. You can. It's just a little bit more difficult. And you need some of those people in a new organization, but you need to find the right people. But you also might find a lot of people with a lot of excuses and no accountability. But that's just as simple as, do they align with your core values? Is accountability one of your core values? And do you hold everyone to that standard, even if they're a good salesperson or not? But yeah, the job description is huge. Are you competing with everyone else that's hiring a door knocking person? Or are you telling them, hey, you actually don't have to door knock? Now, if you find success in this strategy, it's highly effective in these areas. But Do you want to generate long-term partnerships that compound over time, and then you don't have to work, as hard for forever, right? Like, and build a business within a business. And do you want to grow and learn? And it's not easy. I promise it's going to challenge you. Roofing has been personal development in disguise. It has been the most challenging thing in my life.
100%, man. Amen to that. It's the most challenging business there is, but at the same time, the most rewarding.
Most rewarding. Absolutely. And so it's like some people, especially in this day and age, don't want to put in the work. And so one of the things that we also implement is 30, 60, 90 day kind of plans, like come to me with your plan. I think it's one of the things we're changing in 2026 is I'm going to be the first line of defense. So I'm going to do a 5-minute FaceTime. I want to see if they show their camera, right? Or am I a priority, right? Because our biggest thing is if they take care of us, right, we will take care of them. That's not most companies, right? Not any company I worked for. I was always just a number, right? It was replaceable. Even though I was a top sales rep in every industry I was in, I wasn't cocky. I was confident, right? But if they told me the why and they told me to, the why, but really, right? The appreciation, all of those types of things, I'd bend over backwards. But if I didn't, I was just a number and undervalued. And so we're trying to give that back to the old me, right? That was underappreciated. And so I just came from that. So it's very fresh, and it's tightening up the interview process, not wasting too much time with the wrong candidates, and then, throwing them through the LMS. That'll weed some people out. Having them, go out into the field, and are they going to follow a point system? And none of this, I came up with, right? I got the point system from Todd Price. I got the Becca Switzer recruiting and onboarding stuff. I got the, all of these different things from different people, and then I made it my own.
I'm going to have to check that Todd Price point system. I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to also have to check out the 411. That's cool. I did, Roof Sales Mastery, Lee Hates thing, the other guy, the Roof Strategist. And, we basically crafted our own and made our own university for our salespeople. And it's been very beneficial. They come in, they have somebody overseeing them and holding them accountable, somebody who's leading them through a door-to-door church, to where they go out with a veteran, not by themselves. And then eventually they get to the point where they can go out by themselves. But that's really interesting how you built that. What were you saying about 30, 60, 90 day game plan? Yeah. That sounds like some nuggets right there.
Yeah, so that was a question I got asked by a very high growth fintech company that I worked for and sold for previously. It was what's your 30, 60, 90 day plan once you come in the door, right? It's basically hey, we're not dismissing everything that you did do, but what are you going to do for us as a company, right? And so that's what I'm trying to get to. What's your structured plan? And then I also ask, okay, extend that into 12 months, right? So if you're just a salesperson, it's okay, well, I'm going to knock 50 doors a day, plus I'm going to call 15 real estate agents. I'm going to call 10 insurance agents a day. And then this is my game plan. And then I'm going to reevaluate that data after 30 days, right? And I'm going to see which had the best ROI. How many appointments did I book? Those are some of the right answers, right? Right. But it's that they've given some time to really think about them, like their success, right? Their new career, right? Or are they just going to go out and knock a bunch of doors, which is fine too. But we also know now we have to pair them with someone who thinks maybe a little bit differently. And it's they may have the work ethic. We need to teach them the industry, and we need to teach them how to work smarter as well. They already have the work ethic. That's something you can't really teach, right? That's personal health and, just kind of core values and things like that. But as
far as making your EBITDA more valuable, bringing your margins higher, have you implemented any AI systems or agents into recruiting, into receptionists, into production or collections?
Yeah, so we've talked to third parties about the AR side. We've tried 2 different inbound AI call centers. So if you call our work line, you'll get a very basic script, right? If they need to get transferred, we can do a live transfer, which a lot of them can't do. But we're actually just about to pull that out. We haven't found the right one. We don't pay anything for that because how we built it, but it's also just not performing at the level that we would like. We're very much high personal, high touch, very, very warm. Whether, our president or myself or, an ops person that we have within the business needs to answer the call. And then we turn that on at 10 o'clock at night. I'm fine with that, but We just haven't found the right partner there on the AA side, but we have a CTO within the business that's very like up to speed with this type of stuff. I think you just have to find the right one. Like it's not new, right? But it's developing very, very quickly. And so it's like, I think it's having the right partner, to your point, that is, I don't know, the most forward thinking, the most up to date with this type of stuff that can get you more for less, right? I think makes sense.
I met a guy here. I go to a place called Dualia here in Costa Rica. It's like a cold plunge sauna, spa. I go there every day. I work out or surf. And there was a dude there chilling, and we got to talking. He played college baseball, and he's a real smart guy. Long story short, I told him what I do. I own the roofing company, and he started asking really deep, great questions like, okay, what was your revenue and what was your margin? And like, if you could fix one thing that would just blow up your profit margin, my answer was, with my ad spend, if I could get 10% more contracts, that would equate to millions of dollars, because we were only at 11% close rate on our ad spend in 2024. And he's an AI expert. He's referenced inside of ChatGPT's latest book. And he said, I can build that for you. So he did build our company a really good AI receptionist, outbound and inbound. That got us over 39% on the same ad spend. So that was a massive increase for our revenue. And he also built us an AI for our recruiting process. We have over a dozen VAs that assist American workers. We've been using VAs for a long time now, which it's a lot of repetitive tasks. So he built an AI that just does a ton of the work for the recruiting process. I highly recommend that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Would love to chat through that and figure out where we can kind of plug some holes. Or it's like you look at the process and it's like, what steps can you remove? Okay, let's optimize the process. Now let's automate what we can, right?
Sure.
It's people, systems, process, right? And like them working all together, because at some point you have to pick it up. AI can't do everything, but it's like, if it can remove the redundancies, right, and the low dollar per hour stuff, and then you can be more strategic. Like, I look at it as such like a blessing, right? Of like, we all get to elevate. This is right. This is where we're headed, and it's all those pieces and putting them all together.
So 2026, what's the game plan, man? What's the vision? What are you going to do different this year? Because you know it's working. Mm-hmm. And there's going to be some, key things that you're going to implement. You're going to double down on to get to 8 million or 10 million. What's that look like?
Yeah, so our goal for 2026 is 15 million. We're going to focus on the recruiting and onboarding and development and the people a lot more than all of the fancy, kind of tips and tricks. And, we have enough of that at this point. We've learned a lot in 2025, and 2026 is just getting more quality people in the doors and then retaining them, right? And asking them what their personal goals are, right? And if they are motivated by watches or trips or like whatever it is, or they want to buy their first house, right? Like, we want to help them reach their personal goals. It's that servant leadership, and it's more on the people side of it as well. Now we're going to support them from systems and process and provide structure and reactivation campaigns of like, hey, we've done this many inspections this year. We did this many repairs, this many replacements. Well, now we have a database. Now we can reactivate. Now we have master service agreements, preventative maintenance agreements, right? And it's focusing. So of that 15 million, we want to do 5 million in commercial and 10 million in residential. So backing into, how many people do we need live, ready to roll, rock and rolling by March? We need a lot more. Or we need people converting at a higher rate, or we need more lead flow or a higher close rate. Yeah, right. Like all of these things, but it's just as simple as a math equation, right? And adjusting, because it doesn't go according to plan. It never does. Yeah. And so, that's the goal. It's like aim super high, right? And we would almost triple our revenue number if we did that, and it'll be a lot easier to do, I think, from 5 to 15 than from 15 to 100, right? But because there's a lot more layers required and needed, but I think it's certainly possible. Absolutely.
So, year one going into year two, smart guy, graduate, you can tell just by listening to you talk. Curious on your opinion on private equity and what's happening to our industry with private equity, with raised deductibles, with more retail, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think, if you're not keeping your ear to the ground with other products, so we install metal. We've got good pricing on metal. We have a shingle coating where we kind of like own within certain counties, right, around Austin. Where if we want to sell it to another roofing company, we can, if they're, a good partner of ours, right? We can partner with them, we can sell the product, or we can install it for them. So we're providing like more tools in the tool belt, right? We're providing financing. We are, like for example, I just put on a class 4 roof on my house and then coated it with Shingle RX, the 8-year acrylic coating that Dale Childress, master closer, he founded the company. Great guy. I've learned so much from other people within that group, but sales reps can get paid faster that way. Some people are, they might be 80 years old. They don't want to replace their roof. They're, worried if they're going to live another few years. And if we can warranty something for 8 for water intrusion, and they trust that we're going to be in business and we have a third-party guarantee, that's another tool in the tool belt. If we can sell someone a maintenance and service agreement, there are also good direct repair programs and not great ones that eat up all of your margin, and these companies want to put you out of business, right? And then there are good ones, right, where it's high-end. And so it's just keeping your ear to the ground. It's having these conversations with other roofing company owners. And that's what I did when I was at the big company. Every week I'd have 5 conversations with other roofing company owners, and some people were savvy, but everyone had something to give, and I had something to give to everyone. And like, that was the key thing. It's like, you have something to learn from the homeless person on the side of the street of what not to do. Right.
Right.
Steps, kind of not to take, or, how do you plan on getting back from this? Like, it's like getting something from everyone and really taking it to heart and like, sitting with it so you don't have to make your own mistakes, right?
Own mistakes, yeah. That's why, like, I'm telling you, like, you're a student of knowledge. That's why you're at where you're at, because you didn't just do it all by yourself. You found answers from other mentors or peers in the industry, and you rolled with it, and you're hardworking. So I'm curious, if you were to give, as we wrap up, if you were to give a roofing owner a couple of final tips, just maybe they're struggling, they're around 3 million, 4 million, they haven't got past 5 million. What would you say to that owner who's trying to get to the next level?
Yeah, I think it's kind of what we were talking about earlier, like the who, not how. Like, you don't have to do everything yourself. Like, spend the time finding those good people around you. They are there. Don't just like throw out the life, vest, right? And just anyone that comes in the door, you're like, oh, you're going to save me. That's not it. Like, you have to be very thorough, like be intentional about kind of that process and that person. You'll know them when you see them. You really will. And then, hold them accountable, right? There's this like in between stage, right? Where like you're not running your own deals. So you lose out on that additional margin. It's just like, just trust the process. And like, I know coming out the other side, once we get to 10, 15 million, right? It's going to be the right decision, right? I'm not the type of business owner that wants to be stuck at 3 or 4 million. And this question's kind of geared towards the people that want to get towards the next level. It's like, if you want to get towards the next level, delegate, document the process, record it. When you're explaining it the first time, record it, transcribe it, pop it into ChatGPT, print out a freaking manual, and then like, here you go. Like, this
sounds like you've read Buy Back Your Time, or E-Myth Revisited.
Yeah, damn right though. Yeah.
So curious, what's another great book you could recommend to our audience?
Yeah, I mean, Buy Back Your Time, Who, Not How. There's also another book that I'm big into functional health and wellness. And, I met with this guy, one of our builder partners, and we're involved in a couple different businesses now. But a book called Driven that I'm making my way through right now. And it's kind of your typical entrepreneur, and how we think and how to kind of control that. And it's, a lot of people don't talk about personal development and the wellness aspect of it. It is the single most important, in my opinion. If your cup is not just spilling over, you cannot pour into people. If you are coming from a place where, you use a bunch of drugs and you smoke and all of this, like that, you're going to steal from the business. You're not going to pay your sales reps. Like, that disaster is going to unfold. Like, you either get better in this industry or you get worse. There's no status quo. And so you have to work on yourself. But anyways, sidetrack there, like Driven walks you through how to understand and harness like your kind of own, energy and how you should meditate. You should actually keep your eyes open, right? Not closed. But and then, I know this is more than one book, but it was like,
James, dude, you should come to Costa Rica, bro. I have 6 roofing owners coming in the middle of January.
Yeah.
And it's real intimate. We get in like a nice place, cold plunge sauna, surf, meditation, yoga, like all kinds of cool stuff. You would be the perfect fit.
Yeah, I mean, dude, and to be clear, I haven't like mastered meditation yet, but I'm going to Joe Dispenza on January 4th in Marco Island. That's going to be huge. But any of Joe Dispenza's books, fantastic, right? It'll kind of change your thinking about anything health and wellness. To make yourself better is the single best investment you can make. So
Amen.
whatever that is.
I wrote a book on visualization like 15 years ago as my parting gift to my industry. I was one of the top sales guys in Cutco Vector Marketing, actually the #1 sales guy in Houston for like 11 years straight. And as my gift to the industry, I wrote everything I knew about meditation and visualization and like personal growth and development. And it's called Visions to the Top, a Millionaire Secret Formula to Visualization. And everything you said is right on, man. If your inner world is messed up, it shows in your outer world. Where if your inner world is aligned, you reap those fruits in your outer world.
Got to align the body and the mind.
Amen, brother.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, if somebody's listening and they like what they hear and they want to reach out to you, how do they do that?
Yeah, I think the easiest way, I'm on pretty much every social media. I'm not really active on TikTok, but, James Wolfgang Kuntz on Facebook, at Terrytown Roofing on Instagram. Yeah, reach out. I love to connect with folks and just hop on a call and see what alignment that there is. I know how to do certain things better. I'm sure I'm going to learn something from whoever else reaches out, but it's probably the single most effective way I've been able to implement like new strategies and learn from other people's mistakes, and a lot of nuggets in having some of these connections and hopping on some of these calls.
Amen, brother. Hey, thanks for your time today.
Yeah, thank you.